Welcome to Nice One, Cyril. Well, look, we've just whipped City, like we always do. Getting a bit boring. I'm with Kev Acott. We're hoping that Julie Welch will join us at some point, but she's having technical issues, so we'll just plough on. We're going to plough on. Kev, it's dull, isn't it, beating City every year? I mean, they're not really doing much, are they, with really giving us a game?
No, I was. I mean, I think the thing I most took from that game was that they let us down. They let us down again. They didn't really give us much of a fight at all.
No, didn't turn up.
I think no, and they never do. They never do with us.
No, as we speak, Julie is joining us. Julie, hello.
Hello.
I think she's there. Oh, we've got Julie Welch. So we started talking, Julie. We've started talking Spurs, all things Spurs on Nice One, Cyril. Welcome aboard. I know you're having a few technical issues, but hopefully we were just talking about the way we whipped City, and saying it was all a bit, run of the mill, easy peasy. Some great performances though, weren't there?
Yeah, I would obviously like to single out Palhinha. I think that was a signing which no one has really made an awful lot of fuss about, but he might just prove to be the signing of the season because, there he is, centre midfield defender in front of our defence. Everything suddenly looked much safer than it was last year. When you remember, the chaos, the hurly-burly of handball last year, it was just totally different. He teamed very well with Bentancur, which is great. I think Bentancur might. I don't know whether I dreamed this, but I thought he might already be on a yellow, but I may well be wrong. It might have been something I was writing this morning about Bentancur. And let's hope he keeps off. He keeps out of trouble this season anyway. And Sarr. I mean, Bentancur, Palhinha, Sarr. That is not bad midfield. That is really quite tidy, isn't it?
It is.
It's a great, energetic, tidy, skillful midfield. We talk a lot about we haven't got a 10 now, and we'll come on to this in a minute. But Kev, I mean, I think there are lots of ways to win matches. So you don't always have to have a creative 10. I was listening to something this morning pointing out when Liverpool won the Premiership with 97 points, they didn't really have a creative 10. What's your view? I mean, obviously we seem to be in the market for one, but is it absolutely essential?
I think it is. I think over the course of the season, yes, we do need that creativity. We didn't need it against City because of the way that we sort of that midfield in particular sort of. I heard the commentators use the word transition a lot, but that was so important. I think that transition from defence through midfield to scoring, it worked without that 10. But I think there's going to be a lot of other matches where we need that. We need the creativity. We need the attacking creativity.
Palhinha is an interesting. Palhinha is an interesting character, isn't he? Because it allows Romero to go wandering upfield and trying to mark a man on the edge of the opponent's penalty area, because he knows Palhinha is an intelligent footballer who's going to cover that hole. And so with that, it gives players license to play a little bit in ways that perhaps underhand they could try and play, but eventually someone's going to be screaming down the wing with no fullbacks within about a mile, and suddenly you're exposed. But Palhinha does that; he sort of stitches everything together behind any holes.
And also, I mean, what is lovely, and I'm going to be a bit sweary here, in Palhinha and Romero, we've got two real hard bastards, which is absolutely what we've needed. I mean, once we lost once Højbjerg left us, we didn't really have that sort of bite, sort of apart from Romero, basically. And if Romero was suspended or injured, we didn't really have that kind of bite at all. You know, I'm not sort of saying that Palhinha is the new Dave Mackay, because there's only one Dave Mackay. But, you know, he definitely adds an extra something. As I say, I think might even now turn out to be the signing of the season, as long as he can stay uninjured. It would be great.
I mean, he feels a bit like one of the missing pieces, doesn't he? Also, the other thing I wanted to quickly flag up, I mean, there were so many good performances. We talked about Sarr. Fentacle was immaculate. Richarlison never stopped toiling on, working his balls off.
Don't forget Ole.
Stuff.
Don't forget Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, exactly. But for me, one
Johnson
of the real standouts. Sorry?
I said that. Johnson is our new Delhi.
Johnson is like Delhi. His finishing is so sure. He's so sure of himself, and he knows he gets in position, and he's clean when he gets there. But for me, Spence was fabulous as well. You always get that feeling. Well, he's slightly hamstrung because if he wants to attack, he doesn't really cross with his left foot, but his defending, he's a terrier. He's so fast, and his tackling's great. No one gets past him. Kev? I mean, is he going to be there even when the dog is fit?
I mean,
no one can see us, but we're both nodding sagely, Simon. We agree. We agree.
All right. Question answered. Now then, well, look, easy-peasy City, another easy City break. What about our in-house ITK genius, Julie Welch? Now, Julie, of course, was the one person in the entire Spurs universe to suggest last week that the Eze deal wouldn't happen, and she got it spot on. Disappointing. I mean, he's a good player. Kevin, was he the 10 we needed?
Well, I thought he was, and I was devastated for about 24 hours. And then, and I think we just this constant exchange of angry, distressed messages and emails and texts and stuff for about 24 hours. And then I think when we started thinking about him as a player, but also what we can gather happened, which was that he always wanted to go to that lot down the road, and it's okay. It's okay as long as we get, I think, that number 10 and a good number 10, not a young promising number 10, and already good number 10. Then I think hopefully he'll regret making that decision. But it doesn't matter. I don't feel angry and disappointed. So.
And I think, Levy's taken a lot of stick. He always takes a lot of stick. It doesn't matter if he buys Romero and Van der Ven and Bergvall, and it doesn't matter if he buys them. It's the fact that he fails at other things, and he's always going to get a apology. But I think, I'm not sure I would hold Levy to account here, other than to say that he should have just politely withdrawn, because as soon as he knew Arsenal were interested, given Eze's preference for Arsenal, he's an Arsenal fan. They dumped him out when he was 13, and he's always wanted to go back. That's his dream. You wouldn't want to stand in the way of that. It's fine. But Julie, this is not really something that should fall at Levy's door, and everything else does. But you think he's due a reprieve here?
Well, my reaction was really just, leave him, he's not worth it. I mean, I think he's a really good player, and it would have been lovely to have him. But I suspect that, Arsenal's wages were better you just got a better offer, basically. And maybe the sort of sentimental urge to go to the other side of North London was just to cover for the fact that he'll earn more, his agent will earn more. The one thing which does hold back Spurs, and there was a cracking piece by Martin Samuel about it in yesterday's Sunday Times, is that we don't pay as much as other top six teams, by the sound of it, and that's always going to be a problem. I thought Thomas Frank was very dignified about it as well. And he wants players who want to play for Spurs. There you go. I mean, I have to say, and I'm going to drop a name here. I was chatting to Stevie Perryman yesterday about the move, and we expressed our contempt and disgust, and he actually said that he thought that karma will come back and bite Eze in the arse, basically. Like, he'll be teed up for his first penalty and he'll miss, or he'll send a shot into row Z. So there's that. I mean, have I permission to go into another story here?
Yeah.
I got a reminder from a very nice vintage Spurs fan called David Guthrie, who I think is even older than me, that around 1959, Bill Nick, who had been, I think, about a year in charge of Spurs by then, he tried to sign a Welsh international centre-back called Mel Charles, who, people who are about 500 years old will have heard of. Anyway, Mel Charles dragged his feet, and then he jumped too as soon as Arsenal moved in. So Bill Nicholson just went up to Edinburgh and signed Dave Mackay instead. And meanwhile, back at Highbury, Arsenal tried turning Charles, who was a centre-back, into a centre-forward, and he was not really very good at it. And furthermore, his knees were knackered almost from the start, and he turned out to be one of Arsenal's least successful signings. And the year that Spurs won the double, Arsenal were finishing mid-table. And Mel Charles said later that signing for the Arse was the worst mistake he'd ever made. So there's that.
He's not alone. Why would anyone join them? I mean, here's the thing. Lots of failed transfers. I sometimes think about the names that have been thrown into the hat over the years. Spurs were in form. We've got the old saw, Damiano, whatever his name was, and then you have. Well, last year we were after someone called Orban, who's no one's ever heard of since.
I thought he was the Prime Minister of Hungary.
Yeah, well, that's probably the guy. Then we have, all kinds of names get thrown into the hat, and then you think, where did they go? We desperately wanted that bloke, and we didn't get him. And who's he playing for? He's playing for AZ Alkmaar, if he can get the game off the bench. And then we have someone like Bale, who, if Harry Redknapp had his way, would have got rid of him. So
would have gone to Birmingham City.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, Kev, what are your favourite transfer fuck up or good story? A positive story.
I think the most positive story for me was always Ardiles and Villa. And I'm going to use this as an excuse to mention that I met them both about 6 weeks ago now, and
oh wow,
and I don't think they appreciated still quite what that transfer meant to us. If that makes sense, I think maybe if you're a player, you don't quite see your own importance in some ways, or your cultural importance. And so for me, it was always that. I think the most disappointing for me, or one of the disappointing ones that just comes to mind now, was actually Bale the second time. It just felt, I still feel, even while I'm thinking about it now, I just sort of feel sorry. I feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for us. We sort of invested so much in this sort of hope that he would be who he had been, and he wasn't going to be.
No.
So
He scored quite a few goals, didn't he? Though he made a contribution. That was during COVID, but I agree with you. It's the old one about never go back. And Klinsmann came back, didn't he, for a spell, and he wasn't the same player, although he did eventually sort of blossom towards the end. But he wasn't the same player. Who else? I'm just trying to think. Judy, you're the expert in all this. Who's come back and just not been the person that we remembered? Someone's in my head now.
I have to say,
gone now.
I have to say, my brain has gone a complete blank. I live in dread that Harry Kane will come back because that's going to be exactly what happens. I will say about Klinsmann, the second coming of Klinsmann, he did save us from relegation. His striking partnership with Les Ferdinand in the end. So, it wasn't all bad. As for Bale, as you say, COVID was on. You couldn't go to the stadium to watch. I think that had a lot to do with the sort of meh feeling about Bale's return. Just the thought of the time, Bale and Kane together. If you had them both in their prime, that would have been fantastic. Can I go on to another? Can I go on to another?
Yeah. Let's have another. Absolutely.
Yeah, an absolute disaster, humiliating, and absolutely hilarious. Anybody remember the William saga in the AVB era?
Yeah, ended up at Chelsea. That's what I do remember that.
Yeah. Okay. Because I started off being prejudiced against AVB anyway because he was a Chelsea reject. They'd booted him out, and so there we were. There we sort of saddled with this sort of wanky metrosexual who actually I don't think knew an awful lot about it at all. Anyway, tried to sign William. I seem to remember that it was almost signed, sealed, and delivered. William was actually on. He was actually having his medical when the call came from Chelsea, and I just had this sort of image of him getting off the medical table. Probably with his heart rate monitor sort of dangling from everything, like you've taken out, you picked up an electric heater and moved it into another room, wires everywhere, and just dashing into a cab and going to Stamford Bridge and signing for Chelsea.
Yeah, I think he probably owes us some syringes and swabs and some ECG contacts and things like that. Kev, let's move on a little bit now from. We'll come back to transfers because it'll never go away. But we are a bit pushed for time this week, so let me Finsbury Park. Now, Finsbury Park, as Spurs fans will know, is probably a bit closer to Woolwich than it is to us. But you've got a bit of a story about something that happened to you in Finsbury Park?
Yeah. I live disturbingly near there. Still, I actually live in their territory really now, and every time we walk past or drive past Finsbury Park, I always think of this instance. I think I was 16 and wearing, as you had to in those days, steel toe cap boots, and we went to Highbury, and the police were really enjoying themselves by stamping on your feet to check whether or not you had steel toe caps, and I did. So this sort of copper stamped on my foot. It didn't hurt because I had steel toe caps. So you had to. The way they dealt with that then was you had to take your laces out and hang them on those little things that have hooks that they have at fairgrounds, and then come back after the match and pick up your laces. And of course, after I can't remember whether we won. I can't remember anything about the match at all. I just remember just sort of walking along after the match, trying to not lose my steel toe cap boots because I didn't have any laces in. And I was with sort of three or four friends, and we were walking across Finsbury Park, and there was some shouts behind us, and there was turned around and there's 25, 30 people just running at us. and was running through a very muddy Finsbury Park with boots that were kept coming off away from this sort of big mob of 25, 30, what we assumed were Arsenal fans. They caught us up, and it turned out they were actually Tottenham fans. So we breathed a sigh of relief, and then one of them said, "How do we know you're really Tottenham?" And we said, well, we are. And one of them started asking us obscure questions. So in the 1958 League Cup quarter final, who was the centre? We couldn't answer any of their questions at all. And I just thought, I'm going to be beaten up in Arsenal territory by Tottenham fans. And eventually, I think they just got bored and ran off after another sort of innocent group of people. But I think about that. I must have been really traumatised, because almost every day, I walk past Finsbury Park and I think about that, about being stuck running across muddy Finsbury Park with my boots coming off. And
wow. I mean, that's quite a story. My only real scrape with fans from another team was when I was on a train going to Seven Sisters with my mate Howard. We were going to get off there and walk to the ground, and it was the year Man U went down, and they were 70. Julie, come on, you know this, 70 something, and their fans were gathering a reputation for being absolutely lunatics, and about 50 of them got on our carriage, and my friend Howard was quite portly. And so he seemed like an easy target, and they were sitting on him, jumping on him, emptying their nostrils on him, which was lovely. And then another one sat there, realised they had a hole in his trousers, no pants on, so he was then thrusting his testicles at all and sundry, really. And but they kind of, I mean, obviously Howard was humiliated, and Howard's the kind of guy, if you give him a chance, he'd knock your head off. But there's 70 of them, or however many there were. But they left me alone, and I couldn't help thinking, "Thank God for Howard." You know.
Yes.
Julie, you obviously you are press royalty, so you probably don't have any kinds of issues. But surely, when you've gone into, there must be hostile places for the Spurs. A journalist with the Spurs allegiance to go.
Well, looking back, you see, back in the day, journalists were meant not to have any allegiance. So, I mean, I wouldn't go into the press box wearing a Spurs scarf and woolly hat or anything like that. And it was considered, very bad form actually to visibly support a team, or even audibly support a team. You could always tell Scottish writers, because they were, any Scottish player who was on the pitch or whatever, they'd be sort of going into the full Bonnie Scotland routine. But basically, it was incredibly uncool. So I didn't have that sort of trouble. The hospitality at the grounds was very generous, and I can just remember, to be honest, I was at Coventry, and it wasn't a Spurs game. I was reporting Coventry versus another, and there was this sort of mock Chas and Dave duo who was doing their halftime entertainment. Really nice lads. And we sort of all fetched up in Coventry hospitality afterwards. And I got absolutely legless. And they actually had to carry me from Highfield Road, where the stadium was, to the station, because, I was absolutely out of my tree. So it was, I was lucky because, I faced no danger, because I was just this sort of small bantamweight female who was kind of scurrying along in the wake of everybody else. Nobody took any notice of me at all.
I think the biggest danger to you right now is, if you should accidentally find yourself anywhere near Joey Barton. But he seems to have a pretty high opinion of female anythings, let's move on a little
I
bit
would
now.
be a danger to Joey Barton. He wouldn't be a danger
Yes,
to
you
me.
would.
He's only a little
You can
guy.
take him. Slide tackle him. Now, I was going to do a little bit about our miserable 23 months at Wembley, but I'll save that for another time because we are, as I mentioned earlier, a little bit pushed. So why don't we have a quick, before we get on to our Bournemouth predictions, have you got a random rant for us, Kev, this week?
Oh,
No, I'm getting a look. I
no,
didn't get the memo.
I was going to go on about the Union Jack thing.
Oh, come on.
Because actually both sides of the Union Jack debate are annoying me at the moment. But I think I'm going to save that one. So yes.
I'm in Norfolk. There are more Union Jacks per square foot here than I've seen it anywhere. So it's a bit disconcerting. Julie, have you got a random rant this week?
A random rant. Well, I don't know. You did raise the subject of Wembley at one point, and it just sort of. We'll probably come back to Wembley at another session, but I just wanted to say that I hate going to modern Wembley. Hate it, because it takes you about 50 years actually to leave it. I mean, It's like Hotel California.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a grim 23 months for us, wasn't it? But I have got more to say on that, but I will, as I say, I'll come back to it. My random rant this week actually is that I'm sitting in a quite nice hotel with beams and shit in Beccles, but it's got a dreaded fucking wet room, and there's nothing that pisses me off more than a wet room. And I've just had a shower before we started recording. And my wife went in there and she went, oh, for God's sake, I got wet. I just wanted to do a wee. I've got wet feet. Everything's wet. The toilet's wet. The seat's wet. And it's even got a little kind of squeegee thing to get rid of all the wet. But you can't. So now the sink is wet. The towels are wet. And even worse, the shower bit has got a mirror, full-size mirror behind the shower. And all you can see is, in my case, an overweight geezer, and it also exposes the slight sort of frailty of my hairline, and I don't really want to be going down that road. So lots of wet. God's sake, fuck off. Now, excuse my language. Now we're playing Bournemouth.
Can I put
yes, that's it. Sorry.
Before we go on to Bournemouth, can I just put in a request? I want a campaign for bringing back the communal bath. Do you remember the communal bath?
Yeah.
Those great shots
I never went
after
to
the
one.
cup final. No, but I mean, they just an essential part of football. The game has gone. There are no more communal baths.
When did they stop? What sort of? Because they were every picture you see from the 40s, 50s, 60s was sort of those communal bath things, and then they seem to stop.
Well, certainly when we were filming those glory days in the early 80s, there was a communal bath, but it was not in use. I don't know. They found it somewhere in the whole sort of White Hart Lane estate. There was a communal bath somewhere, which obviously hadn't been used for several decades. So the shower had already, been introduced for all those wet wipes of modern football.
But I have to say, and I'm quite OCD, and the idea of sharing a bath with a single other man who's just sweated and gone through the mud and all kinds of detritus and crap all over him, that fills me with the kind of dread I can't even describe. So I'm not with you on that one, Julie. You can keep your communal baths and put them where the sun don't touch. Now, we're playing Bournemouth. We're playing Bournemouth on the Saturday. I'm getting a train back from deepest, darkest Norfolk and trying to get to the game on time. Kev, this is easy-peasy, isn't it? I mean, it's a bog standard 1-2 defeat, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is. But I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it publicly. We're gonna win. I'm going
Oh,
3-2.
wow.
Oh, yeah.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Julie, have you got us down for 3 points here?
I don't know. I'm always terribly careful about sort of predicting a Spurs win, because whenever I do, everything goes pear-shaped. But the corresponding feature last season, well, we played them away first on the 5th of December. Bournemouth 1, Spurs 0. That was the start of the really bad kind of spiral down under Ange.
Yeah.
And the home fixture was 9th of March 2025, and that was Spurs 2, Bournemouth 2. So make of that what you will.
Okay. So you're. I can't work out. Are you going for the win this weekend?
I'm so cautious. I really am. But yes, let's do them. 4-1.
Oh, I like it.
Excellent.
Positivity. 4-1. Oh, wow. Positivity. Well, last week you guys had us losing at City. I had us drawing 2-2. So I think I get half a point
You
for
win.
that.
Yeah.
We're going to kill them. We kill them. I'm fancy Paulinho hat-trick. He probably won't even play. I mean, oddly enough, talking about Julie, you we waxing lyrical about Paulinho with Sarr and Bentancur. I suspect that's our midfield when we are playing, sort of very rigid, organised, disciplined style against the top teams. But I suspect, like, as we did against Burnley, we might get to see Bergvall and I've gone Gray possibly coming back. Is that possible?
Well, it'd be very nice. I always like looking at Archie Gray. Lovely curly hair. Nice boy.
Now then, let's not have that. Let's not have that on this podcast. We don't do that sort of thing here. All right. Well, look. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Kev, for joining me today. I'm sorry if it's all been a bit difficult. I'm in my beam-bound room, and it's all been a bit of a struggle. Tech has been terrible today, but we hope it's coming through clean. And this has been episode 2 of Nice One, Cyril. I hope you've enjoyed it. We'll be back next week for more stuff. Join us then. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.